actually know that a single day can change your life, like just one single day. I will explain everything. Anyway, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Riz and this is Grow with Riz. I decided to call this Grow with Riz because this channel is going to be talking about self-improvement, habits, inspirational and educative and motivational, because I'm planning to share every experience and everything that I'm learning. So back to our question. I was asking if you can change your life in a day. Do you believe so? I will say this whole thing goes back to a mind shifting. Like, you have to shift how you think about every single thing. You have to rewire your brain, you have to rechange and reset your mindset, because being a person who has been around people who have made it in life or maybe are successful in one way or another, I can tell you the only difference between people who are not really successful and people who are successful is just how they think, how they reason about every particular situation. Because the truth is, we cannot control whatever happens around us. We cannot control what happens to us. We cannot control losing your job. We cannot control getting a higher salary. We cannot control losing someone. Those are part of things that we cannot control. Us all on our creator, because we can only change whatever we can change. And in this case, I'm going to share with you how I changed my whole mindset from fixed mindset to a growth mindset, or we can also call the growth mindset an autopilot mindset. So for most cases, I will say I started watching podcasts and reading books, and through the whole thing I learned that you don't have to be from a rich family or have so much for you to earn whatever you're looking for. For my case, I started with the little most things, like my health, my fitness, my physical health, my mental health, and the things that were actually around me. So I realized that I had so many things that I had not healed from in my past life. I had so much trauma. I had so much of unhealed issues. I had so much, and this really clogged my mind. I couldn't see clarity in any issue. I could oversee most of the things, and this means I missed so many chances that I ever had to change things or to just do something better. So I had to change how I think about every particular situation. For example, about efforts and failure. So when I talk about efforts and failure, obviously we know efforts is something you do because you are looking for something, or you're looking for anything to progressively come through. And then failure, of course, is now when you don't get whatever you're looking for. That's a fail. It's a failure. So I personally viewed failure as something that shattered me down, something that I was not supposed to face, and all those things. I came to realize that failure is supposed to show you something that you did not, supposed to show you that you failed, and this was the reason, this is the lesson, and means that the next step you're going to take, you will always be very cautious, because the previous things that you did, you made the wrong choices, or maybe you just did something that was not really appropriate. And this happens in everyone's daily life. It doesn't matter whether you're a student, whether you're working a career, you're creating content, or whatever happens. Because in this content creation journey, I've been learning so many things that I've been doing very wrongly, and I have taken this step to just be like, I want to learn new things, and I am ready to change how I think about every single situation. Then another mindset I had to change was on money. Money was a very big thing, and it's crazy that my whole life I've been looking for money, and money will never be enough. And I've been just there looking for money. And it's not about looking for money. It's about doing the things you're passionate about. So for the most case of my life, I have done so many things to look for money. I have worked in many places that literally were killing my mental health. My mental health was going down, but I'm like, I want that 15,000 because I have to pay my rent. I have to do all those things. But I feel like it is good that I went through all those things to realize my potential, or maybe to realize the things that I can change. So I used to view money like this. I used to view expensive things like, hey, that's something I cannot afford. That's something that I had this kind of mindset. So I had to shift from this is not something I can afford to this is something that I can afford, but how do I afford it? Like now the question is, how do I afford it? So you start now to think of solutions. And I think that's the best thing. People might say you are an overthinker, because me, my entire life, people have told me you are an overthinker, you are a nerd, and all those things. And I take that because in my overthinking is when I get solutions. And if you want to take it the wrong way, that's on you. Personally, I am gaining something from my overthinking, and it's a good thing to me because I learned what to overthink and what not to overthink. That's also something I learned. I had to learn, like, you cannot overthink for people's thoughts. You cannot decide in your mind what someone will do or say. That is something you cannot. And you can also not conclude what they are thinking. But you can only overthink on matters of where you have a problem and you need to solve it. That is when now your overthinking power should come through. And now you should put it inside and think about it and think about it. Because I personally can think the whole night. I can think the whole night, and there will be nothing wrong with that. I'll be thinking the whole night. I'm just seated there. I'm like, I need to find a solution. And most cases, I usually find solutions. I also had to rewire my brain on things like finding knowledge. You know, when you are in school your whole life, you always think of passing exams. So I was in that situation where my mind was only thinking I was only reading because I needed to pass exams. Back then I was a novel reader, but I just reached a point where I think my phone took over and the rest of the things never mattered. So I had to start regain confidence to start doing the things I was doing in my past life, because now those are the things I was passionate about. I started to read, I started to draw, I started to paint. I've just been doing a couple of things. I've been learning how to edit, I've been learning how to content create, because now I feel like I'm in that era where I just need knowledge. I need knowledge because I believe it's very, very powerful. I just need to know anything that I want, anything that comes to my mind. I go search online and just find solutions. And let me tell you, I've been using YouTube for how many years? For 5 years now. And for the most part, I was viewing and watching the things that didn't really add up on my life. So I had to switch that and rewire my mind to tell myself that I need something, I need to consume something that is good for me, for my mental health, for my physical health, and anything that I needed. I had to start to watch channels that inspired me, channels that really talked about the issues that I was maybe going through. I had to relook and see the most progressive ways. I started watching podcasts and those channels that just talk about self-improvement, the ones that talk about knowledge and how to do so many things. And this put me so down to rethink about my whole entire life. And I just thought to myself, for this long period of time that I have been alive, I've been doing so many things unconsciously. I never had to take my power back to think and say, now I need to do this, I need to do that, and this is good for me. Because the crazy thing about habits or choices or anything like that is that the most unproductive ones are the best to do, like the easy ones. You just find it so easy. Like if you have, let's say an example, you have two things. Let's say you have alcohol to consume and you have a book to read, and maybe you are into alcohol and all those things. There's a higher chance that you might not read that book. There's a very high chance you might just put the book aside and focus on the alcohol, because it's an easy, like if you know the science behind dopamine and all those things, you'll understand that human beings are controlled by hormones, and there are so many hormones that put us in touch with so many things. Because and hormone like dopamine is a hormone that it's like a feel-good hormone. It gives you that feeling of just feeling yourself and all those things. And for the case of things like alcohol, junk foods, just not working out and all those things, you have your dopamine level is usually very low, and when you get the dopamine, you usually get it very fast, but it doesn't last longer. But in cases where, let's say, you decide, instead of me consuming this alcohol, I can choose to read this book. And maybe there's a book, like for me currently I'm reading The Atomic Habits. I've read it once. This is the second time. I want to repeat and repeat, because this book has really, really, really changed my life to a point where I was like, this is not really this girl. I don't know her. She's just very different, and she just approaches things very different. She just sees things very different, unlike the me that I had in my last couple of years. So for a very long time, I can say that I have made so many steps. I have literally just withdrawn most of my toxic habits, and I started to do the things that are productive. Those are the most hardest things to ever choose. If there's anyone here who works on themselves, they know what I'm talking about. Because working on yourself, just filling your cup, and just being that person who puts something in themselves. And for a very long time, I have been wanting to work out, to start reading, to go for runs, to try and eat healthy foods. But most cases, I usually just ended up doing the opposite. And the moment when I read these Atomic books, things started to change very differently, very positively, very optimistically. And I started to feel like I feel very different as a person. I feel like most of the things that I plan, I do them. And I feel like I sleep well, because I used to have I was actually having a lot of problems with sleep. I never slept for like more than 4 hours. Most cases I used to sleep like 2 hours, 3 hours. And come to think of it, there was nothing I was doing, there was nothing productive I was doing at that point. I was just going from one social media to another. Just go to TikTok, then Instagram, then YouTube, then Twitter, then Pinterest. So my whole life was just like the whole night running from one street to another street of social media. And in the whole thing, I realized that I had wasted so much time. I had wasted so much of myself, because I used to wake up very grumpy in the morning. I used to wake up, my mind is so clogged. And most cases, I just never did my work well. I just knew, you can know yourself. So I used to just know, like, my things are not really as great as I think they should be. And I had to start to think, what is this thing that I will start to do and incorporate it, so that with the time I can get to a point where I'm satisfied with my own work. So I started to watch those podcasts that talk about self-improvement. That's why I actually was inspired to start my own self-improvement journey, and I decided to share it with everyone, so that we can also be a part of my life. And I feel like this is our channel, this is not my channel, and we are here to share life, and we're here to just like live life, because I'm not here to talk about things like how can I put it? Anything like anything that maybe you thought I will be talking about. I don't know what you're thinking. So I had to sit down, start watching those podcasts, start reading the books I was recommended to read, start doing the things that I was recommended to do. So some of these things were, number one was reading books. I started to read self-improvement books. I started to, my first book was Rich Dad and Poor Dad. That was my first book that I read. Then the second one is now the one I'm currently reading, The Atomic Habits. And then I'm hoping to read more books, because now I'm back in this journey of reading books, and I just want to do that for the longest time of my life. Then another habit I had to learn was my time for going to sleep and the time for waking up. I had to sleep early and wake up early. That has been like the biggest problem of my entire life. And now it's just turning out so good, and I'm so happy and grateful. And there is another issue I had also to learn this working out, exercising, keeping fit, eating healthy. And this thing is actually keeping me on toes. And I just read somewhere else how ways to improve your creativity. And one of those ways was exercising, eating healthy, and eating healthy, mostly eating the vegetables and the fruits actually help. And then also walking for some time, like just taking your time to go for a walk. And I just realized I had a roommate who, every time I used to work from work, I would come home having suggestions of what we should do and how we should arrange our things or anything of that sort. And she used to wonder, like, why every time I walk I usually ask her so many questions. I usually come up with ideas. And at that point, I didn't have a clue that walking can actually help you explore your mind and just think. I was seeing it as a very normal thing until I read about it. And I was like, okay, no wonder every time I walk, I always come home when I am so excited to start something new. I have so many plans and I'm starting them immediately. And so it was all because I walked. That's the crazy thing. Life is crazy, and you have to choose the crazy that aligns with you, because there's so much happening in the world. There's so much happening, and when you sit down, you realize that you have a very perfect life. For example, right now in Gaza, these people from Gaza are suffering a lot. They're having a lot on their plate. They don't have a home. They don't have all those things. But I'm thinking about my own life, and I'm so grateful to say it is the perfect, most beautiful life that I have, because this is something that I have worked on for a very long time. If you work on yourself, work on your finances, work on everything around you, and finally things start to be a little bit easier and better, you will understand what I mean, because you start to be very grateful, because the little things start to matter to you, especially when you enter into a world of solitude. Because I entered into that world of just finding myself, and this was because nothing around me was working out. Nothing. I'm very serious. Nothing around me was working out, and even if it wasn't really stable enough for my mental health. Things were just like crazy, and I just sat down and I thought, I need to change something. For how long am I going to be that person who looks for work, looks for jobs, looks for, I don't know, all those things that we're looking for, because a human being, we always look for money, we always look for a partner, we always look for love, we always look for, and I realized all those things are within me. I didn't have to go far and look for them. I didn't have to apply for so many CVs to so many companies and find it, but I could find it within me. So for a very long time, I've been having ups and downs, especially when it comes to my finances, because I mostly had this belief that I have to be employed by someone and somebody had to come and save me. But at least now, I'm no longer in that situation, and I'm so grateful for that. So I just come up with something, I try to do it, and crazy is they all work out, because I intentionally put my mind on it and just focus on this thing for whatever reason. Because I remember when I first started thinking about content creation, I started that in 2019. But for the most part, I will say I was so focused on my education, because that was the time I was doing my degree, and I was so much into just finding the good grades and getting a good job and all those things. So I couldn't think about making content, because even when you think about it, no one around you does this thing. You will start, then motivation is just like not there. But I decided I don't care what people say, especially the negative people. Not everyone is bad, and I decided that I'm going to take this journey, and I decided I'm going to keep saving for me to buy a phone and a ring light, And I started to save money. I think since January. I started to save money since January of this year, 2024. I saved money every month I worked. I saved money, and all that. And right now, I've never been paid online, but I know if I truly put my intentions, my efforts, and everything, things will just blow up one time. And I will just be so glad that I made this step, in as much as I literally saved this for a very long time. I had to save to buy a ring light and a phone. Those are the things I was saving to buy. And when you do such sacrifices for your own self and for whatever goals you have, even whoever comes and say whatever they will say, whether it's negative or positive, most cases it doesn't affect how you feel about everything, because you have prepared for a very long time to be part of a journey that no one should even question. And even if they question, you won't really feel a bit of you need to explain. You just do whatever you're doing because it makes you happy. Because personally, coming and sitting down here and just recording myself and talking and just sharing how I feel about every single opinion or anything, I feel like it's the best thing that I ever had to choose for me. Because most of the things I have been chosen for, I never had a chance to choose. People were always there to choose for me. And I can't say it's a bad thing, because for most cases, when you come from a family where they're not like able to give you everything that you need, whatever they give you, just be grateful for that. And you have to just accept it. So for me, it was something like that, being able to do the things that I had to do because my parents wanted me to do them. And now I'm just at this point of my life where I'm like, now I don't want to know what people want me to do. I just want to do what I want to do. And I've been working on it for a very long time, and it's actually working. Anyways, bye and welcome to my channel again. And I hope that you'll subscribe to my channel. Bye.